Uh-oh, we're going live.
Why did you say uh-oh?
I don't know, because I wasn't ready for it.
I'm always ready. Wait, do you have live chat up? This is off the rails.
Already.
We didn't tell anybody we're going live tonight. We're early.
Yeah, you guys are just going to have to deal with it.
All right.
It is May 7th, 2018, and this is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast.
Unprepared. But worth it for this display.
Yeah, I just want to play the harp on those scarves behind us. Good job on that, dude. It looks pretty dope back there.
Thanks, man.
I was pretty excited to see that.
For people that didn't know we were going live, that's why you got to hit subscribe and hit that little bell icon. And then you'll always get notifications to tweet it out. Yeah, there's a lot of people that just got that notification that are scrambling for their phone. Right?
No,
wait, what? Oh, no.
I thought it was supposed to be at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, there they are. What up, fam? Brian
will leave us in the live chat. He's been dominating the prediction league. He and Wade
Roberts. That's the reason why he's here.
Yeah. And now they have to climb the charts against Jay Riddle. Anyway, I am Tim Herb, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Mr. Kevin Bradley, the bearded one.
Scarf man.
Scarful. Scarful. Anyway, welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you if you guys are watching
Gather around, everyone.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, welcome. Interact with us in the live chat, as we like to call it, the trap.
Yeah.
And if you guys aren't subscribed, hit the little bell notification icon and the subscription button. There are about 300 and something of you now, which is awesome. Just let's keep growing it. Tell your friends, and then they tell two friends, and then they tell two friends. Did you ever watch Wayne's World?
Yeah.
Whenever they were talking.
I mean, I didn't watch it recently enough to get.
I didn't either. I haven't watched it in like probably 15 years, but I don't know. It's just one of those moments that sticks out into my head whenever he's talking to Tia Carrera. And then anyway, they
somebody got it.
Like exponentially, like the heads keep growing, like Brady Bunch style on the screen. Anyway, guys, in typical Home Before Dark fashion, we are unprepared. We were scrambling, getting this new display up. Thank you for some of the scarves that we've received over the past few weeks.
Yeah, I went to Hudson FC this weekend with all stripes, and I did 2 viewing parties this weekend. That's a new Home Before Dark record, I think.
And Andy Watkins at the right time with Schwing.
Yeah,
there he is. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to hear. Anyway, a couple other ones. We received one of Faction's new scarves, which is right here.
Soccer on the Streets, King Peach, which is what we got whenever we got the King Peach box that Brian had mentioned.
Correct.
We're running out of things. We got to find more elusive things to flex every new episode. We're gonna run out next week.
Yeah. It's we got a lot of exciting stuff lined up for everybody. What's up, Saul? Thanks for joining us, making us part of your Monday night. All of you guys.
So yeah, I mean, a lot happened this past week.
Yes. So do you want to just lightly touch on it? For those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, we're going to put this on the intro on the podcast. Just to let you guys know, if you guys follow us on social media, you probably already know, but if you go to gethomebeforedark.com, it is now forwarding to our fundraiser page. And we have all of our information about the Clarkson FC team that we're helping raise money for with Soccer on the Streets. And then the different grab bags or the different raffle prizes that we have available, or different prizes and tiers and all that stuff, all in there. And then there's a link to go over to Soccer on the Streets for our page to go and donate. We're trying to raise $2,500 by June 8th.
Which is a separate note completely. I mean, we can't talk about our Soccer on the Streets fundraising campaign and mention Andy Watkins and the Trap without, I mean,
he's the whale. The number one thing on there, whether or not this is, I guess they're going to probably win this, whether or not this is,
I would love nothing more than to sit down with them.
Yeah, whether or not this is apt prize, but highest bidder, highest contributor to our campaign is going to get to sit down and record an episode with us. And right now, it's the great people, Andy Watkins and Bino Watkins.
Yeah. And thank you guys so much. I mean, thank you everybody that's contributed. That's why we do this stuff, and it's going to a great cause. So yeah, go check out gethomebeforedark.com, where you can find any and everything. Again, homepage has the Soccer on the Streets campaign that we're running for Clarkson FC. But that's also where you can find all the prediction leagues and everything else that you had already touched on. What's his name? Josef Beasy is still at the top.
This is a running joke. You know, Jonathan Beasy. You know, Josiah Beasy. Yes, Josiah F. Beasy. John F. Beasy is definitely still leading the race.
John F. Beanie is at the top still. And other than that, I have had a terrible week in fantasy. I thought for sure this was the week I was going to break triple digits. I found out a way to edit my lineup
to get 5 fielders.
Well, I can get 3 strikers at least. That's all I cared about. And then, of course, none of them did anything. David Villa doesn't do anything. Vela doesn't do anything. Ellis doesn't do anything. It's completely tanked, but I can take some solace in knowing that Dan James didn't hit triple digits either, sitting at 99. That made me very happy.
Guys, I feel like I had my best week yet, and I think I dropped in the rankings. It's just becoming, let's see if there's anybody that doesn't beat me by the end of the season. So I am pulling up right now the Home Before Dark MLS Fantasy League. Also, first, the MLS app, so much better now. God, it's so bad. It's so good. It's so good to not have to go outside of the app to go into Safari. So yeah, number 1 stats and trends, John F. Beasy at 951 points. He's almost 90 points ahead of everybody.
He's untouchable at this point.
We got Darren Eel's dream team, Jackson Popkin at 868. We got Ooh La La Blobfish Bad Boy.
I think his name gets longer and longer every week.
Yeah. I do like the app actually shows you the full name of the and then we have Dog for Him, David Benson at 857 points. We got Svadsum Mighty Reds, Odbjorn Alstad. I'm about it. 855 points.
Yeah. That's great.
That's a good top 5.
Prediction league still going on. You can sign up for all of this stuff at gethomebeforedark.com. We've been going through some website redesign, and we have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Again, want to promote soccer in the streets. Yeah, and like I said, we've got a lot of stuff in the works that we're excited to share with you guys. Be remiss if I didn't mention sister program, brother sister program,
sister brothers,
sister wives.
I think we're
sister Mr. Wives in Unrelegated, who actually hit their quota, the first one out of all of the content providers to hit the 2,500 goal. And congratulations to them. And now we're pulling rank and forcing them to donate anything above and beyond that to our coffers.
We're the dads. We're the dads here. We are your bosses. Like whatever Chris Rock said, that the president is your boss. We're your boss. Danny Palacios in the live chat saying prayers for Archie. He's a big fan and listener. He got in a car wreck this week, and his Barley jersey was completely ruined.
No kidding.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Hopefully Archie's all right. Yeah, thoughts and prayers with him. That's unfortunate. Archie's a good dude. We met him multiple times. He's just standout guy.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, man.
What else? We launched the prediction league this week, and it seemed to work. I was so nervous as being somebody who's implemented and launched software for the last 6 years.
That's why I live in the real world, Tim. That's why I hang hammers and screws and nails, hang up a curtain rod to put some scarves on. I know where this is gonna go.
So, I guess Danny was just kind of making a joke. Sorry, the jersey. Archie's all right. The jersey's messed up.
It's just got character now.
Yeah. So,
I mean, think about that guy that went down to Orlando last year with his strawberry and concrete jersey.
Now it's really strawberry and concrete. I don't know if he listens to the show.
Got a little bit of both.
You're the champ, man.
It's fitting to make that reference considering we're playing Orlando next weekend.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, gethomebeforedark.com/predictions. There's a prediction league. The pretty easy steps. Seems like most of you guys got in there pretty easily. And let me know if you guys have issues. We did have issues with certain customers. If you guys signed up and bought stuff from our site, then something got messed up with the permissions on the users. I kind of have to tweak something on the back end and make it work. But
nonetheless, everything that's been bought should have shipped. Let us know if you don't have it. We mentioned that last week. I know there was a little up and down last week, but all the stickers, hats, all that stuff. Side note to that, last housekeeping topic, I promise, and then we'll start talking Atlanta United. But all the proceeds as well over the next month, that anything that's purchased in the shop will go directly to our Soccer in the Streets campaign.
I did want to say with the prediction league, I will get the legacy points. I don't think there's a way with this plugin for me to go and add them individually to you guys, but we will keep track of that.
We'll keep it separate and then tack it on at the end if nothing else.
Exactly. I just want to read out the rankings real quick. Top 5. Or no, the people who got it right this week. How about that? The people who got the score exactly right. We got Josh.
Number 1, not Jay.
Jay Bailey, 86. Josh Bailey. Kevin Gorham. Chief Tata Homa. Magda, Philly Gunner, so Gio, Ross Ness Monster, Keith Filer. So that's your top 7.
Well done.
The people who got it completely correct. The
2-1
result.
Speaking of which, I'd be remiss if I didn't say something to Keith. You know, he tempts me. He tempts me with these challenge coins. Is like, you know what this thing means is if I ever challenge you, you got to do whatever I say if you don't have this chip. It's in my wallet, dude. You're never going to catch me sleeping. So challenge accepted, my man.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the second one we've actually gotten from. We have one from him, and then also from Salvador and his squadron or troop, or for me it's squadron. I grew up an Air Force kid, so
right. So
2-1 to the good guys.
Boy, that was shaky.
It started off pretty shaky.
First half was definitely shaky, not in the same way that last week was shaky, in a concerned shakiness. Not in that I felt like going into halftime or the second half that we were on the cusp of losing, but that a 0-0 result was very possible. We weren't probing in the way that I felt like we were last week against Montreal. It just seemed really sporadic, so much so that towards the end of the first half, I think the most concerning point for me was that it seemed to be Atlanta reverting back to some of their old ways, playing a lot of the long ball to Josef. Nothing really getting distributed.
I think that's our new way, right? Our new way seems to be the more direct over the head ball to Josef. And I don't know. It's definitely not a defense, like a survival mechanism, I guess, or one of those, like your lizard brain kicks in and you're like, okay, hoof it.
Well, I mean, it shows up in the stat sheet where you look at the number of clearances that Atlanta United had. I mean, a lot of those can be considered clearances, which are also just long balls to Josef running forward. And so from that regard, I thought the first half was really sloppy. There was just sort of this sporadic play style. And I think some of that might have been a result of the lineup. We saw Chris McCann not on the field. He's got a hamstring, not even in the 18. He's got a tight hamstring issue or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a late scratch because I had him in my fantasy team.
Yeah. So McCann's out, but Escobar's in for one brief game. Hopefully he's back. I'm assuming based on Darren Neal's joke that Guzan still hasn't forgiven him for taking his parking spot.
Yeah,
that
the training ground. Yeah,
that it's just a joke and he'll be okay. But that said, Escobar made of everyone in the first half, I felt like he was a huge standout for me. Like his presence on that back line was major. I mean, yes, everyone will point to the one goal that he ends up clearing from the left post, or I guess it'd be the right post. But beside that, there are a lot of other instances throughout that first half whenever I was rewatching it yesterday where he's making critical plays and critical stops on the back line and constantly in position to make a play that I was really, really happy seeing him in the lineup.
Yeah, I felt like at first, and I made this point, I think I was talking to Keith and to Angie before you got over to Brass Tap, and shouts to Terminus Legion for hosting us over there. He looked a little shaky and a little rusty at first. I feel like he was working his way back in. It's completely to be expected, right? I mean, he just spent the last 6 weeks on the bench or 7 weeks on the bench or outside of the 18 with a concussion coming back from that. And he's only played, 20 minutes last week?
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes in and he's having to fill in for McCann. Sorry, Bill. McCann, aside from that first mistake he really made in his first game playing center back, he's been an outstanding center back and he's been great in the back working with both Parkhurst and LGP. I think part of it, though, is you take... And just to fortify your point, I think that Escobar was great. I thought that he needed to be.
I think the reason why we noticed him play well is because he was forced to play well because Chicago is doing such a high press that there was no sense of stability or calmness to anywhere past midfield to the back line. Even at the back of the field, we've seen over the past few weeks that with that 3-back scenario, LGP, McCann, Parkhurst are able to kind of pass around and have a little bit of time to let the midfield build up. Chicago was not allowing us to do that in that first half whatsoever.
Right. No, it was pretty frenetic on their part, but it also not even just frenetic. It was kind of chaotic to your point. They were kind of all over the place they were just kind of pushing us. I
think that was their strategy. And to that point, I think it worked in some regards that it was because it was so chaotic. Atlanta couldn't get their footing and it seemed like they were flat, but I think they were just reacting, which was one of the first times that they've had to do that versus playing the game that they wanted to necessarily. That it was constantly, anytime that they started to build something up in the midfield, it was Schweinsteiger or what's his name?
Dax McCarty.
Yeah, I mean, they were just swarming the ball.
I think they both had a pretty
swarming
good game.
And poking nonstop. So anytime anybody in the midfield tried to build anything up or take any space, they had somebody breathing down the back of their neck. And then it just continued from the midfield to our back line, and it was relentless the entire first half.
I want to kind of go back to our old school way of doing this and do positives and negatives in a minute, but we have some comments in the trap. Elliot Bevan saying they were man-marking Barco, so kind of trying to take him out of the beginning of the game. Brian Oliva saying that Almiron seemed like the only dude who actually wanted to play in the first half, and I can't disagree with that. Granted, he's friggin' MVP of the league right now. He's inarguably the best player in MLS right now, the most impactful player.
I don't know that it was that he was the only dude that wanted to actually play in the first half. I think it was his style of play where it was much more pronounced because he is so mobile that you noticed it a lot more. But you even saw Martinez get involved with that. Martinez comes all the way back to take a pass from LGP at one point. Like, he's all the way back at the back line just to get involved in some sense because the ball is not making its way past midfield. So you're going to notice Miggy a lot more because he's tracking. So I'd love to see, they do those heat maps of where players are throughout the game. I mean,
their average position. You can usually count on Total Football for that. I don't know if I've taken a look at that.
I feel like Miggy's this weekend was required to be above and beyond what he has been in the past few weeks. As a result of that, I think that's what leads to some of the breakdown in the second half. But I think that's, to your point, I think that's why he was so prominent and seemed like he was the only one that wanted to play, was because he was forced to do that because everyone else kind of plays their zone, and that's his duty, is to find those gaps in space and then distribute to the other players like Nagby, like Barco, like Gressel, so that the rest of it can start to build as a result of that. So whenever they're clogging up everything, all you're going to see is the one moving part that we have that's not playing a zone.
Brian, lowercase Brian, single name like Prince. He says, we haven't been up against man marking like that this season. Says Schweinsteiger's job in the first 60 minutes was to block passes into Jeff and to slow down the buildup. And that was definitely something you can note. We have a couple new names in here. Matt Gillis, I don't know, maybe a week I missed, but Matt Gillis, thanks for joining us. Same with Rafael Ivat Machado. And he actually makes a pretty good point. He said, whenever Josef has to come back and run, something isn't right.
It's a good point. I mean, again, you see everything getting clogged up. There was just nothing really sustainable or being built throughout the first half. And while there are positives to be had, I think Escobar's play on the back line, I mean, really across the back line, I think everybody played pretty well that first half to hold the line, clear it out when they needed to. And I think that's all a positive point, but my negative would be that at times it seemed like we were just matching that chaotic nature rather than getting one or two lanes that were consistently opening up and then playing them like we were last week against Montreal, where Gressel was getting a lane at the top right, or even trying to figure out something on the left wing, or even some, I know the center of the field was definitely clogged up, but I think there were other opportunities besides just playing the long ball. And it seemed like that's all they started doing. And then whenever they reverted back to trying to build some stuff up, it seemed to play out a little bit better in the second half.
No, yeah, I can agree with that. It's interesting because, like you said, about my first thing I thought about was Gressel was not left open the same way that he was. That lane was not constantly open the same way it has been over the past 5-6 weeks. Maybe people are finally starting to realize, to Kevin Brown's point over the past few weeks, that he's a monster on the right side.
Yes.
And maybe people are finally starting to respect that. Shout out to Kevin Brown. He's at the game. Kevin, let us know how it was. Was that atmosphere really as bad as it looked on TV? That
God,
tifo,
it can't be any worse than that tifo was.
That tifo is probably the worst thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And I watched Night at the Museum too. And that was anyway, and tried to watch Red too.
But I guess it seems like what people are picking up on is just their man marking in the midfield. And I think that might be what caused Atlanta to, it's like, because they were man marked, they were getting closer and closer to each other to complete the passes rather than taking the space. And what started to create the opportunities were players that are comfortable with the ball at their feet and taking on those one-on-one chances like Barco, like Nagby, like Almiron, working the ball left to right across the field to start to open up those other opportunities. And that's what ultimately led to our two goals that we had, were those players making those movements. But you notice players that aren't necessarily as comfortable with the ball at their feet weren't getting that kind of presence on the field. They were getting shut down a lot quicker. Greg Garza had arguably one of his worst games, I would say, this year.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Especially, he was completely, to me, at fault for that goal that they scored.
He was, but at the same time, I think it was situational. There's nobody at the top of the box. He couldn't settle it right in front of the goal. His only option is to head it out.
No,
you can't put any more force on it. You can't head it any harder.
Okay, I guess I can't blame him. Okay, there's a difference. I'm not blaming him for it. I'm saying it is his fault, though. I'm not blaming him for the way that he played it, but I am saying that goal was as a result of his poor play.
Right, but at the same time,
if he's taller, honestly, that's a chest trap, and he because he had enough space between him and the attacker. What was his name? Ellis, where he definitely could have settled the ball and cleared it.
But I can also make the same point that there's nobody at the top of the 18 in that point where there should be. There's players all around the outside of the top of the 18, but nobody really helping to secure Ellis being completely left unoccupied at the top of the 18 to where that ball pokes out and he has a one-touch shot at it. Also, it's a great placement. It's a great goal. I mean, I'm not going to dismiss that aspect of it.
No, that goal was really well hit. Like for where he had the ball and the spot that he had to put it in, that volley has to go into the opposite net.
Right.
Like it has to go into the opposite side of the net. A couple things in here. Saul Lopez making a good point that expecting Chicago to play this way.
No, nobody was. I mean, even the announcer said this is a completely different game that Chicago's played the past few weeks.
One thing I did notice is in the first half, I think they may have tired out in the second half. I don't know, but every time an Atlanta United player was facing up with the ball at their feet, there were two guys waiting for him. There was constantly, they were keeping that shape the entire way down the field where they always had somebody looking at the ball, somebody cutting off a passing lane, and they just played really well on defense the entire first half.
And I think some of what happened because of the timing and how they changed their tactics, I think that they need to start changing. I think a lot of it is situational based off of the needs of the team right now that they need to reevaluate because they're not getting a lot of success in the way that they've been playing. But the other component to this is why I thought this was a trap game to begin with. I'm not going to say that Atlanta is becoming the Alabama of MLS, but I think a better way to describe it, bear with me, is that they're almost like a Clemson, that they're a darling to MLS in a lot of ways. And as a result, they found this newfound success in a league because they've only been here for a little while. And now they have a target on their back. And so you're going to see teams start to scheme and strategize in creative ways because they want to be the person to take them down. And I think that's part of what happened this past weekend with Chicago.
Yeah. No, I could see that for sure. I think it's expectations on, they're just different expectations from everybody, right? Between the fans and the team and then the team they're playing against.
Because they haven't established themselves as the Alabama. I mean, like...
No, we haven't yet. I honestly, I like to think of it...
where we don't have the intimidation factor yet. Like, we have the target factor right now, where we're finding success against quality opponents, and now everybody feels like they're going to be the one to take us down.
Right. And a couple things in here. LA even say we're the new Patriots
of the
MLS. And then Kevin Brown says I refuse to be the Patriots. I agree. As a lifelong Colt fan, I can't. Yes, Danny Palacios, we're the Peyton Manning Indianapolis Colts of MLS, of the MLS. Okay, I like it. It's redundant. No, the one thing I was gonna liken it to is maybe the Mark Jackson Golden State Warriors, where we have some of the best players in the league. We are really starting to build that chemistry. We're becoming a really feared team. We could score like nobody else in the league. And then, I don't know, hopefully it continues like that. We build a dynasty like they're about to win 3 out of 4.
But again, you're going to see teams do really creative and kind of weird things that they wouldn't typically do because everybody has to scheme differently because of what Atlanta's being like. They're finding a way to win even whenever teams are throwing these curveballs at them. I think Chicago was one of those instances. And I know it's very early on in the season. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've only played 9 games at this point. Nonetheless, each and every week we're finding out something different about this team, about what the team and what the lineup looks like with Barco in, what this team looks like whenever they're down a goal at home, what this team looks like on the road against another team that's going to throw everything that they've got at them. That also has ability and playmaking ability on their side as well. It's not like RSL or something like that. You know, I mean, they're a team in Chicago Fire that has the capability to score. And so again, we're seeing 9 weeks in Atlanta United starting to build all of the different facets that you're only going to see more teams try to strategize and figure out what is going to be the breaker, because it's not the bunker. It's not getting up early. It's not the high press. It's not, I mean, each and every way, it's not man to man. I mean, these teams are trying to strategize, and maybe it's going to have to be multiple components that a team is going to have to assemble to be able to break Atlanta down.
So we've gotten to the point where tactics alone won't win you a game. You have to have talent and tactics.
Right.
We can't just bunker and then beat this team.
Right.
We can't bunker and then keep us to a 0-0 draw. And people, rightfully so, Matt Gillis and Danny Palacios, saying that the glaring person we're leaving out is Tata Martino, and we're very fortunate to have him to counteract the adjustments made. I would be a monkey's uncle if I didn't go back. We asked Kevin Brown how the crowd was. He said it was tame. So the stadium got in and some of the supporter section cheers, but it stopped around the 15th minute. That's bad. Magda saying Chicago accidentally trolled themselves with that tifo is perfect.
Yeah, they definitely did.
And then another great point that Kevin and Keith were talking about, the 2 goals in the past 2 games came from throw-ins where at least he believes Atlanta should have had the possession of the ball.
It's a good point. But nonetheless, it's a throw-in. I'm not going to... A throw-in is a little bit easier to figure out.
I'm not worried about that.
Somebody's not going to curve a throw-in in around 4 other players like they can on a corner kick.
Well, has Rory Delap made his way to MLS? I don't know. You didn't watch much EPL, but he has like a 40-yard throw that he can do. He's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we don't have anybody like that in MLS that I can think of.
So moving out of the first half into the second half, where all the fireworks were really positioned, I made it to, speaking of going from one watch party to the next. So I go to Hudson FC, had a great time there with All Stripes. Unrelegated had a live show there, Jay and Kelly. And so Patrick Keenum, Caffeinated MD on Twitter, joins me at the watch party, and we hoof it over to the Terminus Legion watch party over at Brass Tap. I'm punching the steering wheel, getting frustrated because I can't find parking out in the parking lot. No sooner do I get in, I literally walk in the front door just in time to see the setup and the first MLS goal by Ezequiel Barco take place, which was awesome.
Ezequiel Barco. And no, it was a beautiful through ball by Miggy to set him up, and he just made a great run. And
whenever people type Zeke, is it Zek?
Yeah, Zach. Zach. It's like an EverQuest name, or like whenever you tell
look, I'm American, and I'm
put an apostrophe in the middle.
I barely do good to do good words sometimes. So me trying to pronounce all of these players' names appropriately is never going to happen to begin with. So just give it up.
Yeah. Chris Tillman saying, fucking hell, I forgot to tune in. Yeah, you did, but you didn't miss it all. We still got another 30 minutes to go.
Got a long ways to go, my man.
No, this is an all-night party, guys. I hope you guys strapped in. We're going till midnight. This is just like the bar.
No,
we shut down.
Sweating in this studio.
Yeah. You guys, where you guys been with the Patreon Garber bucks for the air conditioner in here, man?
Our next Soccer in the Streets charity is so that we can get air conditioning.
Going to be raising all that money to put central air in here. The Zeke, Ezequiel Barco's goal was awesome because he's not left-footed, right?
No.
And he's able to settle that and be able to have the composure to
not
get
just the finish, but just the vision to know how to. It's really 2 parts that build that up. It's Almiron seeing him make the run, and then for him to to have the ability and vision to continue the run with the pace and timing to not get off sides, because that's a tricky run to make. A lot of components have to work out perfectly.
Yeah, you got to draw the offense. You got to draw the defense narrow, and then get him pushed out to the wide left and be able to feed that ball.
And he's got to cut in and behind the line the moment that ball is played, so that he's got enough space to not only get to the ball, but like you said, to have the time to set up to at least put a ball on frame, much less where he put the ball is arguably the only place he could have put it to score that goal, because the keeper's already low.
Yeah,
anything low, he's got it. And he's got his hands up, so he can't go far right at that point. So he's got to chip him and get that top left. And for him to just kiss the bottom of the crossbar the way he did was perfect.
Yeah. Be able to go, underneath the bar. And
then that starts, what that goal really does. It's great for Barco. It's great for the team. But what it does is again, with it being so early in the second half, it gives a swing and momentum back to Atlanta that they didn't have at all for the first half. There was a couple opportunities in the first half. I don't think that God Almighty, God help us all whenever Martinez actually scores one of those bikes, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That was not even close.
It was not close, but he's going to keep trying.
I love the ambition. He was only a few inches off of his actual, like off of his foot from actually scoring that. Like if he would have timed that and it got up a little later, I guess, and got a little higher, it would have gone in. But yeah, I mean, Matt Gillis saying the Benz would collapse if he ended up scoring a bike. I can't imagine, man.
But yeah, what that really did was, aside from those couple
Thanos would have a rival.
Oh God, that's whenever he snaps the finger.
I still haven't seen it.
Well, he snaps his finger at some point.
Okay,
it could be anything. It could be
snap
starting.
Your fingers.
Yeah,
Did they play that?
Yeah. Snap your fingers. Oh my God! Can somebody please do a remix of Thanos doing "Snap Your Fingers"?
To Lil Jon and the East Side Boys.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, Martinez was one of the few opportunities we had in the first half. What Barco's goal starts to establish in the second half and the way it builds up is what I was talking about was lacking in the first half, which is a comfortable play and pace with the ball at Atlanta's feet that Almiron sets up with the ball to Barco and then sets a precedent for the subsequent goal that happens and starts to open up Nagbe a little bit more, because at that point is where I think that they started to shift a lot of their focus to manning up on Almiron. Good fucking luck. But nonetheless, they did start manning up on Almiron a little bit more, which then opened up our other opportunities in Barco and Nagbe. And you started to see them get a little bit more fluid on the top of the line as well.
Yeah, Nagbe took away his first golden spike. Well, I guess it's not a home game, but he took away his first man of the match.
Yeah.
I think he was fantastic the way that he was able to shield for defense, and then also to be able to distribute, work with the team. Again, that cohesion is just so solid in the midfield, whether you're talking Villalba being in or being out. The way that they're able to operate and eventually break down that defense that was giving us such fits throughout the beginning of the game. It was really nice to see. The second goal was beautiful.
Oh,
the lead up to it.
It wasn't just beautiful. It was, there are a few times in the game where you see the type of player, like who the person is behind the player. And I felt like Nagbe's distribution in that moment to Martinez was a perfect representation of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something, again, we talked about it a few weeks ago where I was referencing a lot of the Portland fans, whether it's sour grapes or not, whenever they're talking about Nagbe exiting and coming to Atlanta, one of the things they were getting a little tired of was seeing how often he would wait to pass the ball or whatever. And we saw a perfect example why that's great. I mean, that he didn't rush. It was just beautiful. And it was an unselfish show of
that's
teamsmanship.
That's what I've loved seeing about him as this new inclusion to the team, is that he is a very unselfish player. And you need to have that as a distributor in that number 6 role. But at the same time, he is also a threat at the top of the box. If the ball, we've seen him several times, the ball pops out at the top of the 18 and he's just going to crack one.
Absolutely.
And have a go.
Pierce, thanks for joining us. He's saying, I can't believe I can't believe no previous manager realized how great a number 8 he can be. I mean, we saw that whenever he was in Portland, oftentimes he was just deployed on the left side of the field and pushed up. And again, the way he's able to shield and work with the central midfield and be able
not 6. I don't know why I said 6.
To distribute.
Yeah.
And especially when he has that great shield behind him in that last line of midfield defense and Jeff Lorenowitz, it's a beautiful thing to watch. He's definitely blossoming with this team. I didn't think he had a rough go of it the first couple of weeks, but you saw he was still getting his bearings working with the team.
It's like Barco. I think it's a matter of them both finding out when to take space and draw midfielders or defender, and midfielders in Nagbe's sense, more defenders in Barco's sense, when to draw those players, and then the rest of the team kind of figure out where those lanes are as a result of that. And we're seeing a lot of what I've wanted to see, which is that cohesion where I think we saw more back heels and little leaves this game than I've seen all season. There was a lot of give and goes that were just one touch, back heels, little leaves,
Saw
little
one or two
side
fail,
foots.
but that's okay.
Right. They failed, but the players were in the right position. And that's something that starts to develop as these players that are comfortable with the ball at their feet, drawing defenders, drawing midfielders, and then everybody else getting familiar with how to take space and make the runs and play around them starts to develop those moments as a whole team.
Yeah, completely. The great point by Keith Feiler saying, I loved how both were smart enough to understand it had to play out to put Josef back on side.
Yes.
The way that Garza played that ball, Josef was off. Nagbe took it, played it across to Josef for the easy slot, and it was a thing of beauty.
And it puts Josef back at the top of the league standings in goal scored. We have the number 1 and number 2 players. How weird is that?
It is very weird. And we did a great job. I mean, the first half, I didn't even realize Nikolic was playing. We snuffed out pretty much every opportunity that last year's Golden Boot winner had. Again, I talked about it last week. I think Dan was a little... I think we butt heads on that a little bit in his After Dark episode, where I felt like they don't really have the distribution right now where they're having to deploy Schweinsteiger so far back. And I mean, Dax McCarty's great and all, but Nikolic isn't receiving the same service. He's also not getting as many PKs as last year, it looks like. But
true.
I will say I was a little puckered the last little bit of the game.
Ooh, yeah.
It was tortellini time, as I like to call it. It was...
I felt comfortable in that we at least had a goal lead, considering everything that took place in the first half. You know, if we drew that game, so be it. I wasn't as nervous about them getting 2 goals on us, or 3 was whenever we were up 2-0. You know, there was never a point where I thought that they were posing that much of a consistent threat to where that was a possibility. But yeah, I mean, what this game did to me in a lot of ways is starts to look at a bigger picture, which is teams that are going to throw everything to the midfield and front line to clog up the midfield and then stifle our defenders makes me look ahead to a team that has probably a better attacking front line in Orlando than what Chicago was able to put together. And that's what started. I mean, I think Orlando's back line is probably a little bit more deficient than Chicago's was, but nonetheless, I think that their front line is probably a little bit more adept at actually capitalizing on opportunities and creating opportunities up top.
Well, I think you're skipping ahead because
I know I'm skipping ahead, but I was
going to say is we also have to worry about a team that scored more goals in Orlando in Sporting KC.
I know that's what I'm. Again, it's all related to the fact that we have a really, really tough stretch coming up, and I don't know how. This again, we've talked about how Atlanta keeps finding ways to win. It's going to be really tested over the next 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is. What is it?
It's 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. To Joe Hart's point, thanks for joining us. The only man I think that hates Orlando more than we do says, I feel robbed. Orlando hate week is cut to Orlando hate 4 days. So playing the number 2 team in the Shield race on Wednesday, followed by Orlando, makes me try to split my priorities. So not a fan. Said Orlando hate deserves an entire week, and this is weak as fuck. So I'm having to push off Orlando City trolls and wait to address it until Thursday. And it's very upsetting because, one game at a time.
Well, also because, you're going to have to deal with them twice. Regardless of the outcome of the game against Sporting KC, Orlando will show up to troll that game, and then they're going to show up again to troll theirs. Just sit and wait. Let them tire themselves out. We kind of need to bunker. We need to bunker the Bants right now. We just need to let Orlando come out. They'll get gassed. A lot of them are overweight anyway. They don't have a lot. I mean, those thumbs can only move so much, and they're going to start to wear down around Thursday or Friday. And then you guys just let out a full assault. Full assault going into Mother's Day.
That's what I want I want to give my mom for Mother's Day. I want to give my mom just a thrashing in Orlando City Stadium by Atlanta United. That'd just be amazing.
Right.
What did you get me? I watched the game. Just watched the highlights.
Okay. So any final thoughts on the game against Chicago?
I don't think so. I think we touched on our biggest negative being Garza had his worst game in a while. And then we touched on what you trying to do over there?
I'm trying to scroll it up, man.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, Martinez broke what I'm calling his Martinez level duck. his goal scoring drought, which was all of a game and a half.
Yeah.
Between the LA Galaxy game and
I do think this starts to set up the conversation about the next few games, which is our yellow card accumulation. We need a soundbite, which is to the Post Malone song in honor of Angie. Yellow card accumulation. We need a whole soundbite for that so that we can do our update each and every week.
You foul so hard you had to take vacation. That's why it's yellow card accumulation.
So yellow card accumulation right now, LGP sitting at 4, both Miggy and McCann at 3 right now. So 5 and you're suspended, right?
Correct.
So LGP, a tough stretch against 2.
And it's 3 games of good behavior, gets 1 rescinded.
Right. And he got a yellow card this past game, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Miggy? Yeah, he got one for like dissent or whatever it was.
Right.
Or like, I don't know, it was cynical.
Right. So LGP is the one I think I'm most worried about over the next 2 games. If he gets his next yellow card in the Orlando game, I'm okay with that, because at that point,
actually no, he didn't. LGP, Barco, and Tito got one. Miggy didn't get one last
night or
on Saturday.
Yeah. So
we forgot to mention what Brian said.
Oh yes, I was right. My theory holds up. Miles Robinson. I mentioned it last week. Is your loophole to get a red card in USL and then still go play in MLS? And Miles Robinson fucking did it.
Yep. And he came on the second half, and my suspicion was,
oh my God,
we had to wait until the Atlanta United 2 game was finished before the suspension was completely over.
And then I just kept doing that meme, like whenever you got a red card suspension, but your game is already over, so you can play with your major league team.
You can't suspend me when I got another team to play for.
Oh, good God. All right. So yeah, Miles Robinson did come on. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot all about that. Because I got hyped whenever that happened.
Elliot, Miggy has 3 yellow cards right now.
Yes, Miggy and McCann both are sitting at 3 and LGP at 4. LGP is the one I'm most concerned about going into this
I think
stretch.
Everybody is, and yeah.
So thoughts on in any order? I think these games will kind of, I'd like this conversation.
We have to scrunch in 2 previews in the next like 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I'd like to just kind of talk about them without any they don't need to necessarily be in order. Overall thoughts, and then thoughts going into each game.
I'm far more scared to play SKC at home than I am to play Orlando away.
Really?
I am, because if you look, let me pull up SKC's schedule recently, but they're on a hot streak. They're easily the best team in the West right now. Last time I said that, Vancouver shit the bed for like 4 games. So maybe we end up starting that bad stretch for them, which I hope happens. But let's see. They're coming off a win. It was a 1-0 win against Colorado. Still is a clean sheet. They didn't give up anything to Dominic Badji. So you had that. They did lose to a New England team that was doing pretty well. So maybe they're just bad against the East. 6-0 against Vancouver the week before that. 2-2 against Seattle. Maybe I'm not so scared. I mean,
exactly.
LA,
again, this
LA,
comes
DC,
back to
Colorado,
our whole conversation about how the discrepancy between the East and West right now. So it being at home on a Wednesday night, I'm far more concerned about the intangibles and going down to play Orlando than I am at Sporting KC right now. So personally,
I guess both of them are not coming off a hot stretch. I guess of in their hot stretches, they're not really playing that big of or that great.
Orlando's in a bigger hot stretch right now. I get that it's not against quality opponents, but it is a league best. A team best. And 6 consecutive wins. They're going to be out to prove that. It's going to be humid as balls down in the middle of Disney World
studio right now.
Sunday game after coming off a stretch on the road against, it's just a lot of back and forth for Atlanta. The Orlando game, again, seeing their offense makes me have some room for concern. I think if we see a game where Atlanta goes back to the 4-back formation, I think that happens. And it makes the most sense to have that happen in Orlando.
I can see that. So just going over Orlando's hot streak, they played RSL. And if RSL, to Matt Doyle's point, if they play like they did in the first half on defense against Atlanta, the way that they did against RSL, we're going to be up 4-0 going into the break, because they gave up so many chances. And RSL is just not a team that can capitalize on that. Their strikers aren't that great at finishing. I don't think I saw Yermov Sizian playing, but they still won 3-1 Dom Dwyer is excelling way more than he was last year. I think that Kyle Lair and that partnership just was never going to work. But they beat Colorado, San Jose, Philly, Portland.
My favorite thing is seeing their supporter base whenever Matt Doyle makes the point about,
yes.
A better team like Atlanta puts those opportunities away. Well, that's if Atlanta scores 4, then Orlando scores 6. It's like, wait, what? What are you even saying right now? Jeb Hart, best team in the West is like being the valedictorian of summer school.
I can't disagree with that.
Best team in the East is like being the Raptors in the NBA.
We're tied for the 3rd best defense in MLS, at least in terms of goals allowed. And the only teams who are behind Seattle, who's the bottom of the league. They just have only given up 9 goals. They can't score at all.
So Pierce Hex mentioned another point. Yeah, Brian, I knew that you meant the West. There's no way you're going to troll us in our live trap. Pierce Hex has a good point that I didn't mention, which is that SKC will be a tough match when facing Orlando. Oh, wait. SKC will be a tough match, but then facing Orlando on short rest, which is the only thing, that's the biggest thing that worries him. So short rest on the road, hostile environment, a team that's got a lot to prove, a lot of offensive weapons, a rowdy stadium, even if it is full of shitty people.
Somebody convicted of domestic violence.
In the humidity, there's just a lot of factors against the Mickey Mouse Club that I'm legitimately concerned. Because of all those factors, which are just outlining them as a club, neglects the other point that I made previously, which is that just as much as we're out to prove ourselves or take them off of their win streak, they're out to knock us down a peg at leading the East right now. Because with the win against us, they either tie or leapfrog us that weekend potentially.
It depends on how much.
It depends on what
they have to beat us by 9 goals to leapfrog us on Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
Or we'd have to the goal differential between SKC and on Sunday would have to be 9 goals.
But they don't have to do goal differential because they have more wins. They have more wins, so they don't have to.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
We have 7, they have 6, and if they beat us, then they would have 7.
Okay,
go down to goal differential.
Okay. Good. So there's still some hope. Nonetheless, they do have a lot to prove. I think that's another big factor going into that game. I think the Orlando game means more to me personally. I'd like to see us go to the 4-back, but again, a lot of this is contingent on what happens Wednesday night. The good news is we have a lot of depth that we can see the lineup shift and do things in a way that we haven't necessarily done in the past.
Yeah.
So somebody had a really good point, and you and I haven't talked about it. We can kind of talk about it now, or we can talk about it off the air. Thoughts on a midweek show, maybe Thursday after the SKC. I think with it being, or if it was any other 2-game week, I'd be hesitant to have a midweek show because it doesn't warrant it. But going up against Orlando, I feel right. I feel like my troll on Vance got robbed.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe we will have one of those extra shows for.
I think it could be fun.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see how much you guys can raise for our Soccer in the Streets campaign. How about that?
We'll be out. I will actually be out of town starting tomorrow until probably Thursday night. So maybe we can
I forgot about you traveling and all that. We'll see what we can do.
I'll be in Charlotte and I'll be back Thursday night. So I don't know, maybe nobody's going to be watching on Friday.
Yeah, no. We'll figure something out. Nonetheless, we'll be back next week for all the bands.
All the bands. Every single one of them. Ronald Pena joining us saying we've been resting the lion tamer for his big show on Sunday.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments rounding out this week? We got a new review.
We did get a new review, and it's fantastic.
So I do have points to that point. We got a new review, but we also got 2 new ratings.
2 new.
I'm not blaming Dan, but I'm not blaming Dan. We put up the After Dark segment with Dan James, and we get 2 1-star ratings. No reviews that accompany it, but we did get 2 1-stars. So all you 5 stars that have been holding back, haven't gone in and left us a review on iTunes, you need to go do it. Allie E. Is that the Allie from your friends, Allie E?
I don't think so.
In live chat? Oh, okay. Never mind. New name in the live chat, Allie E. If we beat SKC, we'll be up on Orlando by 6 points. They can't catch us this weekend. Right. It's all contingent on
Brittany S's point. If we draw, same thing.
That's true. Nonetheless, we got a new review. We'll read that out. But all you guys that haven't left us a rating or a review on iTunes, go do it. Don't let the 1 stars win, guys. And if you are going to leave us 1 stars, great, cool. We're not going to shy away from it. Just leave us a review so we can at least know why. We're not going to change anything either. But I want to know.
Jay and Kelly get reasons. We don't get reasons.
We're above reasons. That's how I know it's just hate speech. It's just they just try to snipe us.
No, hate speech is whenever you talk about shitting on someone's bagel.
They just out here trying to snipe us in the streets, and I ain't about it. You guys, homies, get them. Go throw some stars up in iTunes. Nonetheless, we got a new review. Tim.
Yeah, we have This Show is Great by A. Lewis 13, 85 stars. 85 stars. Anyway, he said, I often find that the real world is boring. Having you guys playing on iTunes while I make my lunch, workout, and enter my time at work makes me happy. So notice that I am able to make time for both the podcast and work, unlike Dan. It's correct. Though I suppose I don't have the additional burden of worrying about Birmingham being relegated into League One. He didn't put that, but I did, because it's just going to be embarrassing if they end up going to League One. So P.S. though, I appear to have fallen out of the top 5 this week. He's talking about fantasy. He says the full name of my fantasy team is Claremont Lounge FC, where dreams are made. Just an FYI, in the event I am not deleted from the league by Dan and I make it back up to the top 5. So love you, Dan, with the little heart eyes.
So Dan gets us 1 5-star and 2 1-star. So his average is 3.5. Is that what that equates to?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I think so. Pierce Hicks with another thing, or another point about this week with the short turnaround in terms of squad rotation. Who do you think may get rested over the next week? Maybe Parkey or Garza? I could see either of them.
I want Garza to rest as much as possible.
Yeah, especially if
injuries.
McCann gets healthy. If McCann's it was a tight hamstring, as reported by Doug Robertson. If he gets back into training and his hamstring's right, I'd almost rather see him up on the left side playing left wing back, or switching to that 4-3-4-2-1-3, whatever 4-3-1-2, whatever it is. I can't keep.
I think
straight.
We've got 18 people on the field with that. But nonetheless, so before we get off of here, you guys can leave your score predictions in the score prediction link that we mentioned at gethomebeforedark.com. What are your thoughts? Next couple of games, how do you think we'll come away out of these next 2?
I would be happy with a draw against SKC. I know their defense is pretty stout, and knowing that the guys may be looking ahead to a rivalry game on Sunday. And granted, 4 days of rest is still pretty good. So
I'm glad it's Sunday and not Saturday, and it's Sunday night. So
yeah,
that's good.
4 days of rest isn't bad. That's more you
and
get.
It's not far. It's not like we're traveling up to Montreal or Vancouver or something like that.
Jeb, we still don't know whether or not Escobar's out again. We were talking about that at the beginning of the show, whether or not Darren Eales' little cheeky tweet was only sent out there because he knows that Escobar's doing all right in terms of him being Guzan being mad about Escobar taking his parking spot at the training ground. I think that I'm going to go with like a 1-1 against SKC, even though we are playing at the Benz. I know that is a goal factory there, but I think that we show up big and we take Orlando to task. And I think it's probably like I agree with Brian. I think it's like a 3-2 Orlando game. And I think maybe they nip a late goal and get closer than the game really is.
So I'm kind of thinking the opposite. I think we end up beating SKC. I'll go ahead and say 2-1 against SKC. And I think Orlando is a big scoring fiasco for both teams that ends up in a draw. I think we end their win streak. They'll still be undefeated in that amount of games, but I think it's a draw on the road.
Yeah.
A 2-2 or hell, maybe even a 3-3. That'd be kind of crazy to see. But I think it'll be a great game. I think it will be a battle of their offense. It sounds silly to say it's going to be their high-powered offense against what our backline can do, and against our. I'd like to think that maybe we win out because their backline is so weak compared to our top. But at the same time, because of their midfield and forwards, I think some of our midfield is going to have to drop back to limit that. So I'll say 2-2 against Orlando and 2-1 SKC. Atlanta will win.
Okay. I think we just do it.
Yeah.
Just a freebie. Right?
Yeah. We'll do it at the beginning and end of the show. So we're partnering with our first sponsor, guys. It's some of you that listen to it in the audio, you've already heard it, but part of our whole Soccer in the Streets campaign. I mean, we're really psyched about it. We've been fortunate enough that the listeners have donated to the cause directly, and we're doing raffles and stuff as a part of that. But we've held off on doing sponsorships for a long time because we didn't want to do them just for the sake of doing them. So we're
not in it to make money, guys. I mean, if that's what we've said since the beginning, and we're not going to sit and pollute your ears with some random advertising just to put money into our pockets or what have you. And yeah, we're really excited about this partnership that we have with Away Days Football.
And we're only going to do it for a limited time, to that same point. But it is specifically a sponsorship and a partnership for Soccer in the Streets. So a portion of all the proceeds that come out of this promo that we're partnering with them will be going to Soccer in the Streets, and any contributions that we get will also go to Soccer in the Streets. But yeah, awaydaysfootball.com. Martin follows our same kind of mantra, DIY, do it yourself. If you get in touch with them, you're going to talk to him directly, but it's a really cool initiative. And one of the cool things that's kind of picking up on these trends of, like MeUndies and the little snack ones that you can get where you have a subscription that you get these random goodies, but related to soccer. So they have a mystery kit deal for $25 where he will get you a jersey from some of the sub-tier leagues from around the world.
Swedish league jersey from last year, and it's brand new, it's sealed, and it's just random. And then if you continue to order them through awaydaysfootball.com, you can end up getting, just let them know in the comments section, I already received this jersey. You'll make sure you don't receive it again. You're not going to receive anything like a Tottenham jersey if you're an Arsenal fan, a Liverpool jersey if you're a Man U fan, and vice versa. And it's really, it's a super cool concept that he has going on. And right now for the next 2 weeks, if you guys put in the promo code HB4D, that's HB and the number 4D, just like our little block text logo, you will get 15% off of your purchase. And then there is as Kevin said, a certain percentage of the profits are going to be going to Soccer in the Streets towards our campaign. They have also a subscription kit, 3 months, $75. You get 3 months of the jersey, the away kits.
Yeah.
Or the mystery kits.
Right. So go check them out. awaydaysfootball.com, promo code HB4D. That's the number 4. And yeah, go check out all of our stuff at gethomebeforedark.com, where we have our shop where everything is going to Soccer in the Streets. Again, we try not, I mean, we do ask a lot of you guys. I'm not blind to that fact. We ask you to go participate in the leagues. We try to give back as much as we can too. I think Soccer in the Streets is a way for us to do that. But yeah, if you guys can donate to that, great. Just you guys donating your time to us each and every week means a great deal to us. So thank you so much for checking us out. Be sure to go comment and rate on the iTunes page, like and subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell. Hell, tell a friend at the very least. And however you found us, thank you for doing so. If you want to find more, you can find all of us on Twitter. You can find Dan at his name with the vowels. That's Dan James.
DANJAMES. There was another. Do you want to talk about the?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's what you were pointing at.
Yeah, sorry. We have another partnership. It's actually a donation that was agreed upon and given to us by the great people over at roughneckscarves.com, RUFFNECK scarves.com. And they are donating some Atlanta United scarves that we're going to be putting into the raffle pool for us. And they have all the MLS scarves. There's like 20 something.
I think you do custom scarves through them too.
Yeah, you can.
That's where a lot of I know I think Soccer Down Here use them for theirs, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of their groups have been able to make their scarves through them, which is really great. So if you've got
great quality
a budding group of friends that all like to get together and have a supporters group of your own, I mean, go check out Roughnecks.
No promo code there. They're just giving us some scarves to auction off during the donation period. So just look out for that. Just go to gethomebeforedark.com and then you'll be able to see all that. A couple other things I just wanted to point out. I mean, Alex Brotherton kind of giving us shit, rightfully so. We've never taken sponsorship. Again, this is for the charity event. He said it's not a podcast unless y'all throw in a For Hims promo code and a SeatGeek ad. And that's true for Hims. I'm pretty sure Hims is Propecia, or is that Viagra? I can't remember. I think it's one of the podcasts I listen to has that ad in it, and I'm pretty sure it's generic Viagra.
I'm about it.
Yeah, that's just bad. Like, that is just bad for the country. That's just bad for humanity.
This is ground up rhino horn.
So much just old dude boner walking around. They're gonna be popping them like chiclets now that they're generic. You could just get, like, they're not $70 a pop.
Just like ibuprofen, dude. You just take two for a headache.
And to Brian's point, they're all gonna be at the far post. They are gonna be the far post. Anyway, and then
if you'd like to find more comments like that on Twitter, Tim, where can they find you at?
They're ignoring it. Yeah, Brian Oliva saying "old dude boner." That's not a phrase I did. That's a phrase I didn't think I'd hear tonight. You can follow me at Tim Herb. That's TIMHERB. You'll find me taking to task people who think that bagels are anti-Semitic.
You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC, the number 1 TECT. Collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. Go check out awaydaysfootball.com. Promo code HB4D. That's the number 4. And yeah, tune in next week. If you miss the time, we try to tweet this out, but we're not perfect. If you ever don't know what the schedule is, if you're subscribed on YouTube and want to participate live in the trap, like all the names you've heard tonight, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon. You'll get a notification on your phone whenever we go live. Love the hell out of you, homies. Thanks for checking us out. Go check out gethomebeforedark.com and help us get Clarkston FC to regionals. We'll see you next week. As always, be home before dark.
Bye.